I'm Tisha,
I'm Lauren.
and this is the Open Booked podcast. Today we are talking about Colleen Hoover's Maybe series and November 9th.
Yeah.
I was like, wait.
We're getting there.
We did confess last week.
They're running together.
Yes.
We're almost there, though.
Yes, thankfully.
Yeah. So, what are you currently reading?
I just started Flock, the Ravenhood series by Kate Stewart.
Okay, I've seen that on the book pages.
Yeah, I literally haven't even got through the epilogue. Like, I opened it and laid down and started reading it, and I was like, I'm really tired.
Good night.
Yeah.
Okay. I started our book club book. I read really fast, so I know we, designated it a couple weeks ago, but I wanted to read it, the week before our next meeting, just so it was fresh. And I honestly haven't had much reading time, just with life right now. In general, it's just been the past 2 weeks have been absolutely insane for me, and it will continue to be that way through the next week or two, so...
Yeah.
Anyways, I started the book club book. I'm in chapter 1. I was very fresh too. But I'm really excited. If you go to when you start it, there's tons of reviews by these huge authors. It's so I can't believe I hadn't heard of it before we picked it, but apparently it's a huge sensation. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready to dive into that this week. I wanted to do the same thing, so that it would be fresh for book club and I wouldn't forget or mix any details up with something else I was reading.
Exactly. That's what I worry about when I read so many, which I'm sure everyone has similar issues, which I've been meaning to bring this up on a pod because you and I have talked about this, and I've seen a ton on social media about it, is there's these two spectrums of book readers where it's read as many as you can, or read to enjoy. And for some reason, there's some sort of beef. And I just want to say, Tisha and I appreciate all readers, okay? I don't care if you read a book a month, a book a year, or you're like Tisha and read 150 a year. We don't care. It's no hate from us here, but I definitely have seen some shade being thrown at each other. Oh, you read one book? Cool. I remember when I had my first beer, and I'm we definitely read a lot faster, but anyone reading, good for you, okay?
I don't, it's just Taylor Swift always says, the worst kind of person is someone that makes someone feel dumb for loving something. Yep. So, kind of on that same note, just again, whether you read one book a year or I've seen some people read 300. I'm I don't know that I could hold half of the details of that. If they can, good for them. But either way, you're still growing and developing as a person by reading even one book a year. So it's a good thing. I don't know why we want to try to create division in everything that there is.
That's just the world right now, and I just don't want it to happen in the book community. So I'm just saying, no division here. You're welcome. You read one book, you read 100, welcome. I wish we could pop up TikToks because you saying, better yourself as a person. I saw this one of that guy that's on the ride. Did you see him? And he was, throwing ass. It was your husband says you read a lot of books, you must be really smart. And it's me with the books I read. And he's fucking throwing ass. And I'm about to cry. I was literally crying. I'm telling you, I watched it probably 10 times, and the funniest part is my husband's in it. I'm telling you, this guy could throw some ass, okay? He was getting it.
Can't you see? I'm at your feet. Whenever, wherever, we're meant to be together. I'll be there and you'll be near.
But, so our book club meeting is, by the time this episode airs, it will be 2 days from book club meeting. It's a week from when we're actually recording. So first actual book club where we're discussing the books. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Ready for it is all I'm hearing on TV right now from Taylor Swift because of the Olympics.
Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, I love the Olympics. I literally play it all the time. and that opening ceremony was a couple days ago. So we're like fresh, all the events. Shout out Bentonville. I don't know, did you see this morning? The girl, she lives here. I don't think she's from here, but she lives here because we're the mountain biking capital of the world. She won silver medal, so
Awesome.
pretty cool mountain biking, which I think this is like the first time it's been in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, it's a legit sport.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, do you see their legs, man? They're freaking ripped. Like, it's a sport.
Yes,
but that
I don't know
happened
that I
this
ever
morning. So
It's exciting.
yeah.
Our little neck of the woods getting recognition.
Again,
Other-
thanks Walmart.
Yeah, for other than Twisters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both movie and in real life.
I am gonna make a TikTok of, if you've been down Walnut lately, they're still like everywhere. And I want to
Yeah.
be like, what Twisters doesn't show you 3 months
It's the
later
aftermath,
or two,
yeah.
the aftermath that's still fenced off. I mean, I wish I would have gotten videos of like the National Guard just like guarding Popeyes. I'm like, because people were like, they were afraid they were
Looting.
gonna. I'm like, it's fast food chairs. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You don't
Yeah.
have any money in there. Anyways, and we don't even live in like a area with a lot of crime. Like, I think our cops get bored, because we really
for sure.
don't have that much crime, especially like Bentonville. I don't know what the Bentonville cops do besides work Tesla accidents.
I saw, speaking of that, I was driving, I don't remember where I was going, but I was going down I was turning left from Walton onto 102. There's Raising Cane's there. And this black luxury SUV was apparently broken down. Like, the guy was sitting in it, just sitting there, and his hazards were on. And there were 3 cops behind him, lights flashing, because he had broken down. I was like, guys, you can't find anything better to do right now.
Nope. If there's not a Bentonville event that they're just like standing around to make sure everything's good, then there is no crime ever in Bentonville. Like, literally. It's
Unless
a great
it's like
problem.
domestic violence. And that's usually late at night.
Yeah, that's like we're asleep. We don't even know what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Another thing, Jason Kelsey was at Wright's the other day.
Saw that, yeah.
The craziest thing is, that's like literally I can see it from my office. Jesse and I went to lunch together that day, and we almost went there. And by the time I got back by the time I got back to my office, all my coworkers were like, "We found Jason Kelsey on Twitter. He's at Wright's, and is that the Rogers one?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's definitely the Rogers one." And I was like, "Damn it!"
Damn it, I
If
could
we
have
would
seen
have
him.
been there, we would have seen him.
Yeah.
Which, anyone listening who's not in Northwest Arkansas, Wright's Barbecue, is the
best.
top rated, the best, and it is the top rated barbecue in the entire country. So, Kansas City, St. Louis, Memphis, all known for barbecue, but we have the top rated barbecue.
Yeah. And
So-
I've had Memphis, I've had even South Arkansas, I've had Texas barbecue, I've had Kansas City, St. Louis, like all of them, and nothing holds a candle to Wright's.
Their burnt ends I would literally commit murder for. They are so good. So good.
Yeah.
Anyways, and it's very dangerous because it's one location. Like I said, I can see from my office at work, and on Mondays they're not open, and I think they just smoke all day. And I'll be like 8 a.m. getting to work just smelling it, and I'm like, oh my god. I want barbecue. Anyways, we've talked about the Olympics. Maybe we should talk about our giveaways that are still ongoing.
I feel like it's drug out forever. I was like, why did I do that to myself?
Our last one was like a week. I feel like we didn't even get to talk about it on the pod because it was come and gone so much. They're so quick.
Yeah. So we are doing a giveaway. It will end August 9th, which is technically August 8th, like at midnight. So the beginning of August 9th, and August 10th at noon, we will announce the winner on our Instagram stories. We're giving away a special edition It Ends With Us book that Lauren has, and then a reading journal and sticker from the Bookworm box. You can enter that on our socials, or just visit our website, open-booked.com, and I'll put like the text on the screen so you can see it. And then we're going to do another one when we hit 2,000, which is quickly approaching. I think we were at like 1,915 this morning. So probably sometime this week we'll announce that giveaway. with all the details on Instagram. I think that's it.
Yeah, exciting stuff. We're growing pretty quickly on Instagram. The book community, like
TikTok not so
crazy
much.
supportive. TikTok's, I mean, just comparing it to my business, we've been hustling on TikTok for almost 2 years, and we have like 200 followers.
Yeah.
And you like our open book. I feel like we both have posted in there on TikTok already, like almost 1,000, like what, 900, and much less time. So I just have to shout out the book community. Like, y'all are way more supportive than any other community I have ever been. And I've got a Jeep. I have small business. It's just insane how supportive this community is.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Here for it.
So anything interesting on TikTok that you've seen this week?
That brat dance?
Brat dance? I didn't know anything about that. Oh, I think I have seen that. Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm obsessed with the Olympics. I don't know why. There's some of these sports I never watch, except I grew up watching like gymnastics, swimming, like Carly Patterson, Michael Phelps, like, you know, these big names. And so now I've just like kind of stayed with me in adulthood. But I came across this guy, I guess he's a diver, on the and his TikTok popped up and he was doing the brat dance on the boat, like the Team USA was on, in front of the Eiffel Tower. It was like I was like,
oh,
wait,
cool.
okay, so instead of like waving your flags and, you know, like you're having a teammate be like, hey bro, video me doing this brat dance while the Eiffel Tower's behind me.
I think the apple's rotten right to the core. From all the things we've done, from all the apples blooming before. I spent the apple down symmetrical lines. So what if that's kinda scary, makes me just wanna drive.
Not gonna lie, it was a dope video, but so ever since I interacted with that one, that's all I see. Like Brianna Chicken Fry getting Zach Brown. I mean, like all these people just popping up of this brat dance, and I'm like, maybe we should do an open booked brat dance.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a TikTok dancer, but
I'm not either.
whatever gets the engagement.
Followers and views. Yeah.
What about you? Anything interesting?
So I encountered the ballerina farms last night. Apparently there was a New York Times article that came out this past week. I think 4 days ago now. But it's this beautiful ballerina that, she had a full ride to Juilliard. She lived in New York. She wanted to be like independent and just be a dancer. And she's really talented. Like you have to be to get a full ride to Juilliard. She meets this guy and is very persistent. It sounds like a book that we might read, honestly.
Okay.
He's very persistent, asks her out for 6 months, and she still says no. Then he finds out somehow that she's going on this trip and makes a call. His dad owns JetBlue, Breeze Airways, and another airline. So he's worth $400 million. He pulled strings and got the seat right beside her to go wherever I think it was back to New York, wherever she was going. Basically convinced her to date him. They get engaged like a month later. They're married another month later. They're pregnant 3 months later. Now she has 8 kids, and they keep saying it's the trad life.
What does that mean? I'm Googling
traditional.
it right
Yeah, apparently traditional biblical life. She home makes all of their meals. She raises all of their children. And the article apparently is very like trad life. And everything I've seen is more that it's Mormon life than trad life, which, they kind of overlap, But essentially, she's given up all of her dreams to support his dream of owning a farm and playing like he's poor. And I've seen videos of her like cooking. She does videos and content, and they have like a subscription box where you could get like groceries that they grow on their farm. Like in the interview video that I saw, and she's answering questions and he keeps talking over her, and it's very controlling. It's giving very possessive. My dreams matter more than yours, and you're just a housewife there to take care of my 8 children.
But devil's advocate here, for $400 million, I would give up every dream and be a fucking housewife. I'm sorry. This is a hot take for me. I I think that the society we live in makes that a bad thing, but and some people may think it is, but some people might actually be okay with that. So she might actually be okay with it. It depends on how she feels, in my opinion. If she's not okay with it, then I agree. But if she is, and she's like, fuck it, I'm not gonna have ginormous bunions and an eating disorder. Ex-dancer with bunions, I can speak to that. And be like a housewife, like maybe okay, just devil's advocate.
And that's the thing is, like, she says that she loves her life, but at the same time, in many of her videos, you can see that she's very exhausted. He runs the farm, but he has several helpers. Like, he takes the kids out with him sometimes to help him. And she is left with no help. That's the only thing that gets to me is, like, he even said that there are weeks, like, for an entire week that she can't get out of bed because she's so exhausted, but he won't let her get a nanny or just like even like a home helper, like someone to help take care of the kids. Because like even in her videos of her making food, she's like holding on to one, like trying to stir something or like pour something into something. I'm like, it's just too much. Like,
yeah, 8 kids is a lot.
And then I saw a video that he did on his account where he was talking about this like mother and father goose that live on their farm and tried for many years to raise a gosling and couldn't ever achieve that. And she finally had one, I think he said just a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago. And she was sitting on a nest of eggs and she passed away. And he like went out there and made a video of it. And he's like, she's so exhausted trying to do this. And everybody in the comments is like, you realize that relates to your wife who's raising your 8 children while you get to go off to work, right? Like, you see the correlation there?
Authors, if you're listening, we need a book inspired by this. Interesting. I would love like an honest perspective from her, because I think ultimately if she's happy, whatever. Yeah. But if she is genuinely exhausted and not, like, girl, he's got money, hire some help.
Exactly. Like, I guess they do have a cleaner that comes in and helps clean the house, but
that's something.
Yeah, I mean, with 8 kids, anybody would be exhausted. So I can see both sides of it. And like, there was a room that got emptied out in their farm apparently, and somehow it was supposed to be made into like a dance studio for her so that she could have that time for herself. And it's been turned into a classroom so that she can homeschool her children. So that was sad. I was like, that stinks.
Add another room. You have money.
Yeah. That's what I don't get.
Fixes, right?
Yeah. Easy. I don't know.
When you have money, everything seems easier. Like,
yeah.
In books, anyways. I just rewatched 50 Shades of Grey, so like I feel like Christian Grey would have been like, whatever you want.
You need 3 nannies for 1 child? You got it.
Done. Done.
Anything to make you happy. Yeah. And then I saw, and it's kind of a topic that I thought was kind of fitting for us. It said, would you rather live in a house with ghosts or live in a house with roaches?
Ghosts. 10 out of 10.
That's what everybody said. They're like, ghosts can be friendly. They're helpful. Like, even if they're mean or bad, like, it's not disgusting like roaches.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like people are probably going to listen to this and be like, Lauren, you're insane. I have lived in a house with a ghost, and I have a video proof. We need to do a bonus episode on Frankie. You know all about this, right? We showed you the video.
I don't remember.
Okay, short story. We moved into a house that was pretty new. We made it 8 months. This was Centerton House.
Oh, okay.
We made it 8 months before we couldn't deal with, 1, the traffic, 2, the ghost. I was having a hard time sleeping. So maybe I need to change my answer because, I mean, looking back on it now, it was in my head. But I have it on my doggy cam. My dog's looking at nothing and a door opening, closing, opening, closing. Literally on video with no one there. I have seen that. There is no drafts. We checked vents. We checked everything. My husband tried to debunk this shit, okay? This is the best part. I had the girl who bought the house, who we bought the house from, I had her cell phone number because she kept getting packages, and there was this weird transition period from Target that she forgot to change her address. So we'd be like, hey, it's here, and she would like come pick it up. Well, I, out of the blue one day, just got a vibe to text her. And she knew nothing. Okay, we weren't friends on Facebook. She didn't know me and anything about this. And I said, hey, this may be the most off-the-wall question you've ever been asked, but did you ever have any, like, weird paranormal experiences in this house? And she replied back and said, the second bedroom on the left was supposed to be my baby's room, but it gave me bad vibes, so I moved it. I have goosebumps. That's the same fucking bedroom that was my dog's room that we got this on camera. Like, I am not even kidding. And then my dogs would be sitting there and, like, stare behind me. And, like, what are you guys looking at? What are you? Like, literally.
Stop it.
Like, this is true, guys. I was raised in a house that very much believed in ghosts. So, Mom, I'm sure you listen. Yes, we watched a lot of scary movies, and it was very much an open, hey, we think ghosts are real. But that being said, I never, like, fully, maybe 100% believed until I experienced that in my own home that was literally could not be explained. In a newer house, not even old. Like, it was, like, at this time, 12, 13 years old, which for houses is fairly new.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyways, I have lived with a ghost, and we named him Frankie because Jesse said, I've never met anyone that's mean named Frankie. So, we're gonna give him a nice name.
Okay.
So, anyways, there's a little side story.
We need to do more. And I'm really glad we're coming to the end of this because just doing the same thing, same author over and over has drained me.
Me too.
I'm ready to get into other stuff. I'm ready to talk about more like paranormal, thriller, like all of the things.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Same here. I'm pumped. I already have like a list of really, really good ones. Which, shout out to our social medias. We're starting to do more book reviews. One thing I noticed doing this podcast while doing some research is people wanted more book reviews. I saw a lot of posts about that. I saw a lot of, interaction with people who did book reviews. So I did several, some ones that I've read recently. And as we continue to read, we're both going to be doing some book reviews. So let us know if you like those or if you want, spoiler versions. Right now I'm trying to stay spoiler free just for people deciding whether or not to read them. But if you want secondaries that include spoilers, we're all about those too. So love the feedback.
All right, you ready to dive in?
Yeah, 25 minutes in, we haven't started with the 4 books that we have to cover today.
Yeah. I think we'll get through it quickly though, just because
they're pretty short. I mean, November 9th is probably the longest one, I felt like. Maybe Someday was longer.
I think maybe some days a little bit, but yeah, it's
But
all.
Yeah. So maybe series we'll start with. Maybe Someday, maybe not, maybe now. So we're going to dive into Maybe Someday. I have a lot of what if questions I thought would be a little fun way to switch it up. I'm on the same page with Tisha. It's a little bit redundant, so trying to spice things up a little bit here. So what if Ridge never made the first move to talk to Sydney?
Oh, I don't think she ever would have. I mean, at least not when she did. She wouldn't have found out that she was being cheated on by her best friend and her boyfriend. Sorry. Spoilers. Spoilers for the whole series. Stop here if you haven't read these or don't want it spoiled.
Should we trigger for cheating and
Yeah.
possibly disabilities?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So she wouldn't have found out she was being cheated on by her boyfriend and her best friend.
She may have found out in later.
Yeah.
But
I think it would have taken a lot longer because she was clueless. And the fact that they were doing it so close to her and somewhat openly, like that the guy across the way could see it and knew what was going on.
That part to me was the most insane part. Like, at least go somewhere else. I mean, you're being,
And
it's a
then
slap
she
in the
caught
face.
them. Yeah, she caught them in the lie because they both told her the story about the guy that got arrested while they were at lunch or whatever.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, they were just planning something for my birthday. No, I don't care how close my birthday is. My husband and my best friend told me a story that was the same. I don't care. I would have been suspicious.
Me too. 100%. And they should have talked about it like only one of us can tell. Like, they just were being obvious, I felt like.
Way too
I kind of
obvious.
was like, girl, how did you not figure this shit out? Anyways. I don't think she ever would have made the move to talk to him. He had to make the first move, in my opinion. Just based on the personality. But again, we know when he did do this book gave me a little bit of the ick.
Yeah, same. Not so much the first time I read it, but definitely this time. I was just like,
you're having an emotional affair. And sometimes physical. In my opinion. How close they are. Like the head thing. What is it? Like the head on the...
on her chest.
Or on his chest, yeah, like,
and then like
that's-
he put his hand on her throat so he could like feel her talking. I was just like,
see, the second time
wow.
is yes, ick. Anyways, what if Sydney found out about her boyfriend and best friend's betrayal way later? Which we kind of talked about that. I still think it would have hurt, but
For sure.
it's not coming from
a stranger,
right? Like, she would have probably walked in at some point, statistically speaking. Like, she would have walked in or something. You would think.
Yeah, it wouldn't have ruined her 22nd birthday.
Right. Her T-Swift year.
Mm-hmm.
What if Sydney didn't experience getting cheated on? Would she have been so considerate about Maggie's feelings? This is a good question.
I don't think so.
I don't either. I don't think she would give a flying.
Mm-mm.
I think she was so considerate, but still, let's be real, she wasn't that considerate. She let herself get way too close, in my opinion. But I think it would have been worse if she didn't just get cheated on.
For sure.
What if Maggie didn't have the condition that she had? Do you think that her and Ridge would have been as close as they were?
I don't think so.
I
I think
don't
he would
either.
have realized a long time sooner that like they just weren't that compatible. Like, I really think the only reason they were still together is because he felt guilty and like wanted to be that caretaker for her because she had no one else.
Right. I agree with that. I think they bonded over the similar situation, which, hey, if you listened to our episode last week, we talked about this with the two kids that ended up being their little brother's character, like just being in the same situation. So here's kind of a pattern in the CoHo writing that I think they are together by circumstance, if that makes sense, that they're together because they have a similar condition and know how to help each other, or the same condition, really.
Yeah, circumstance, I think, causes a lot of unnecessary and unhealthy relationships.
Yeah, and then it just becomes convenient. And there's a Bailey Zimmerman song, bringing it back to concerts here, Bailey Zimmerman song that talks about throwing in the towel takes some effort, so I'd rather just stick it out or ride it out for better weather, I think is what he says. But I think that rings true to a lot of even Hallmark movies where they're with the guy for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, all these things, people just stick out relationships because it's easier than going separate ways. I kind of feel that way about this relationship, Maggie and Ridge. What if Warren interfered earlier and put more effort into stopping what was happening with Ridge and Sydney?
I think they could have avoided all of the like drama that caused the breakup, and they could have been together without having to worry about it, or just not ever been together because Maggie wouldn't have found out and Ridge would probably still just keep going with their convenient relationship.
Yeah, I agree. I think we would have a totally different outcome, possibly.
Yeah.
Or it could have happened, Ridge would have realized eventually, maybe, and then it would have found, I don't know. It could go either way. What if Ridge didn't offer Sydney to become their roommate?
I think that would have made it more of a friendship, and it wouldn't have turned somewhat romantic as quickly as it did. They could have just written music together, and then she would have to leave and go home. Like, I think that would have been a little more of like a barrier and a line drawn. Who knows?
Yeah. I agree. I think the proximity added to the chemistry. Obviously, there was immediate chemistry. Like, that's very clear here. It's funny you said writing music. What if writing music wasn't in the equation? Do you think they would have fallen in love if they were just there together as roommates?
I don't think so.
I don't either. I think it was very romantic in the art, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, connection through music. Yeah. What if Sydney and Ridge never met at all?
I don't know. She was a fan of the band. Fan of the band.
Big fan.
Yeah. So, they might have met like later on somehow because he had to fill in like for a guitarist that wasn't going to be there for some show that they had locally. So
right.
I could see they might, have a little meet cute later on, but I don't think it would have been as intense, or maybe it would have been more intense because maybe she had found out that she had been cheated on. So she's living on her own like she wanted to. And she's like, okay, now I'm ready to be in like some sort of relationship.
Yeah. So that's all my what ifs for maybe someday. Anything you would like to add or ask before we move on to maybe not?
I don't think. Oh, not a question or anything, but freaking parents, Ridge's parents, fucking trash. Like the fact that they didn't take care of their kids, didn't bother to learn ASL when they have a deaf child. What the fuck is wrong with you? How do you not want to communicate with your child? I just can't believe it. Like I've seen shitty parents and that's like the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And
I
then
agree.
like how he came up with the name of the band because he was having to take care of his brother and he'd have to listen to the floorboards to find out like and the fact that he had never told Maggie that. Yeah.
Right.
It was all a lot.
It showed the connection with Sydney was much greater than with Maggie.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to the circumstance.
Yeah. The emotional cheating was so gross.
Yeah, the emotional cheating in this is next level, and to me, I have a huge problem with that because I feel like this is just me thinking. Like physical cheating is, I think they're two different things. Now they're both absolutely terrible, but emotional, I feel like is way more intense than physical.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
It's because you're like literally giving your heart to someone else and not just being a slut. Not slut shaming. But if you're married and you're doing it, you're a slut. It's fine. We're in a serious relationship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that definitely was the biggest ick factor for me. First read, definitely rated this like 5. Loved it. And now I'm like, solid 3. 2.5 maybe.
Yeah.
I love you, CoHo. I'm sorry, but it's true.
And then the way she asked multiple times, like, why don't you vocalize? Like, why don't you speak at all? And he finally told her, and it's because his dad, yet again, is a piece of shit. And he's like, just shut up. And it was because he didn't like the way he sounded when he spoke. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
And nobody knew. Like, not even Brennan really knew.
That part was pretty deep.
Yeah. And then after Maggie finds out and he goes to her and she's like, my illness is the thing you love about me. Like, yes, you love me, but it's my illness and the fact that I need you so much. And that's the only reason we're really together.
Yeah.
That's like a hard realization to come to.
I agree with that.
I think that's it.
Yeah. So moving on to maybe not. This was a novella, as we learned last week. Short book. This gives more insight into what's going on in the apartment really before Sydney, which there's some weird relationship business going on. I did, side note on this one, I thought it was hilarious that Bridget thought Sydney was deaf because that was just a little humor added in there.
Yes.
And I almost think Bridget's one of those side characters that we talk about as she creates that just adds some comedy or you just like. I feel that way about Bridget.
Yeah, for sure.
So, anyways, I thought that was hilarious. I was laughing out loud. And she was just rolling with it, which was hilarious too.
And then Warren's like, why does she think you're deaf? She's like, I don't know. she never asked.
Yeah, that was funny. For sure. What do you think of the whole in-house relationship ordeal?
That was so, I don't know. I think it's a little bit of like that forced proximity. Like she's just living there out of convenience while they try to find out if she's their sister. I think that was weird. And I mean, it explains why she's there, but at the same time, it's just weird.
I agree.
And then this one was a little bit spicier than most of her other books. Almost even a little more spicy than Verity, like, or maybe
At
on the same
times.
level. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I don't remember this, but all right. But yeah, it was a super quick read that just kind of gives you some added context, and it was a little sweet. Yeah.
It was sweet. I think it was a good example of people having too much pride to admit their feelings, maybe a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
or being scared of commitment.
Yes. Yeah. And then working through it. So, yeah. Not much really to cover or talk about on this book. Honestly, I tried to find some content and I couldn't really find anything either. So,
yeah.
The notes
it does
were
explain why he's got his Thursday night porn. every week.
I had forgotten about
That
that.
was
Yep.
Hilarious.
Adding some comedy in there. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Okay, anything else to add before we move on to Maybe Now?
I don't think so. That one was so,
And so is Maybe Now, really.
yeah.
Notes I have on this one, maybe this was some common things on the internet. Again, was this book necessary? Is this another situation where she just wasn't ready to let go of the characters? Or, I mean, because most people at this point don't really care about Maggie. I feel like they were like Team Sydney. If you feel differently, but I kind of was like, okay, Maggie's out of the picture. Bye.
Yeah, and especially after Maybe Not, when they do the whole singing thing, like I don't know how necessary it was. Like it's a nice little wrap up. Like, they all end up married and happy and life's great, but it's not realistic and it's just reaching, I think.
I agree. Reaching is a great word, and I feel like we have these on a few of the series. But I mean, I respect it if she created these lives and she just isn't ready to say goodbye. But there's also a theory that she had like book deadlines in her contract, so she just like rewrote up. I don't know. Personally, I don't think it was necessarily necessary. But I'm sure people who absolutely adored this series were thankful to have more. Just like I am with Star Wars. The new stuff's not that great, but I just want more. I'm just thankful that they're putting out Star Wars shit, okay?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm gonna assume that's how, the super fans of this series feel.
It was nice to have another like love interest with Jake being thrown in. He's a hot single dad, and
Yep.
Maggie's clearly not ready for any sort of relationship. Like she just got out of a long-term relationship that was only convenient, and she was like, I don't want any part of that, and scares him away.
Yeah. It's hard not to like Maggie though. Like she's really a good person. It's not like some of the other exes in her books that you're like what's her face from last week? Vaughn? Is that right? Yeah.
Whore.
Boo, you whore.
Oops, that was wrong. But just I actually had a few notes on this one.
Okay.
When after she goes to see Jake at his office, pretending to have some heart issue, and collapses, and he's having to go see her in the hospital room, talks to her son about it, or his son about it, and then she does her AMA and brings the boys back to her. Felt very pick me.
Oh yeah.
And then she does something I think kind of out of character, but also petty and just a way to get back at both of them. She posts the picture of Ridge on Instagram, was like, didn't miss his snoring. I'm like, why?
Yeah, that gave me the ick.
Yeah, that was really shitty. And then when Ridge explains the only time he's really cried about being deaf, he had gone somewhere with the band. I think it was Fort Lauderdale. He said, and then he watched the sunrise and he's like, I can't imagine what this sounds like and how amazing it is. He's like, so I cried because I was deaf, and that was really the only time that's happened. He said, how can something be so magnificent when it isn't even a thing of rarity? Talking about the sunrise. I was like, I can see that.
Imagine being blind and not being able to see that. Can't even imagine.
No, because I feel like there's so much you miss if you are blind. You don't get to watch TikTok and YouTube and all the things to just zone out.
I'm not saying deaf would be easier, but you have subtitles and you have, so I feel like running into stuff would be more, but they say that when you lose one sense, other senses obviously become more step up to make you adaptable. But I can't imagine any sort of disability like that. No. Genuinely so thankful, but obviously he makes it work for, in this scenario with his band, everything. Insane. I don't know if that's realistic or not, or if it's just writing in a book, but if it is realistic, good for y'all, seriously. I don't think I have the willpower to do something like that.
No, definitely not. I thought the funniest thing in, I think the whole thing was when Warren, he says something about his Jimmy Choo, talking about his member.
Yeah.
And Sydney's like, your Jimmy Choo? That's a shoe. What? He's like, damn it, Bridget, you told me it was a big cigar.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's hilarious.
I was like, oh my gosh. I can't even. Like, why?
Comedy in there.
Yeah.
At least we didn't have any comments about balls. Children's
Thankfully.
balls. Well,
Yeah. And then they all get engaged in one night. They all go to Vegas and get
yeah.
married, and they're all really happy. And then Ridge and Sydney go every year for their anniversary. And then I think it's like 4 years later, they're about to have a baby. So they're writing a letter to baby Lawson.
Yeah. Happily ever after, per you.
Yeah. There was something in November 9th.
Yeah, we haven't gotten
Okay.
there yet.
Yeah, when we get there.
Okay. You
Yeah,
just got
'cause I was
really
like,
excited.
What? Yeah.
November 9th. This was my second, I believe, CoHo book I read. Right after Verity. This person recommended Verity and then was like, oh, I love November 9th. And I'm like, you could not have gotten me a more opposite of Verity if you tried.
Yeah.
Trigger warning for fire, maybe?
Yeah, fire, suicide, the mom.
Oh, yes, suicide. Mm-hmm.
Just like dealing with death, and maybe that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. So the concept and theory of this book is unique. I thought
Very.
I've never come across another book that this couple just has like I felt like it was insta love. Tell me if you felt otherwise. And then they agree to only see each other once a year on the same date. On November 9th every year, I do post happy CoHo day or whatever, just because. But, a very unique book idea. I will say my only complaint was that it felt kind of repetitive for the first few years. Until it started getting, like, the big twist, and then, like, the weird relationship, the death, like, all those things, connections. But before that, it felt very repetitive. What did you think? Yeah,
it was the first couple of years, and then I think it was the third year when Kyle passed. And
yeah.
That was really sad. And even that, like, the, like, waiting for the person, and then they call from somewhere else and have to, like, run down, and, like, that was repetitive.
It happened like every year. Almost. But I think the idea and theory was we want you guys to be able to focus on your careers. One wants to be an author, and one wants to be an actress. She wants to be an actress.
She wants to be an actress and audiobook narrator.
Oh yeah. And then Ben wanted to be like an author or a
yeah.
Okay,
that's
awesome.
the whole premise. Like,
that's what
he's
I thought.
writing this book about them and their life every year on November 9th.
I'm like, why am I questioning myself about what he wanted to be? But anyways, so they could have time to focus on their careers because their connection was obviously like so strong, and she was going like across the country, right? And they're about to go separate ways. So the idea is great. Do I think people that age would make that decision? Nope. I think they would be running to bed. My personal opinion. Tell me if you disagree.
Especially now. Yeah. Because how old are they in this?
I think she's 19.
That's what I was thinking.
Typical CoHo age. Like, they're like young.
Yeah. I did appreciate the way, they start out in the diner, which is where they end up meeting, every year. And he's listening to her dad basically tell her that audiobooks are beneath her. Like, she's a good actress, but she doesn't have the face for it anymore. Like, piece of shit.
Her dad was a dick.
Yeah. So the way he, like, scooched in and was like, hey, babe, like, sorry I'm late.
Yeah.
And just,
that was cute.
Like, just go with it.
Yeah. That was really cute.
Yeah. But the way he, like, saw her, like, he could tell she was getting flustered, so she went to the bathroom. And then, like, when she was walking back, they kind of made eye contact, but then she immediately hit her face. And he was like, there's more to this girl. Yep. And I want to help her see that.
But we know that he knows a lot more than what he says. big secret.
Yeah.
So, that being said, do you blame him? Spoilers, guys. This is deep spoilers. Do you blame him? Yeah?
Yeah.
I do too.
Because he had a moment of grief. He didn't get all of the information, didn't gather all the details. Like, if he had just read the fucking note, he would have known.
Yep.
Out the gate. He wouldn't have gone and wanted to see him or whatever. And then he wouldn't have started the fire. Then almost killed her because her dad forgot she was there.
We have a common theme of piece of shit dads in CoHo books as well.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we've talked about that until this week, but like, if we go back to like Too Late, we go back to what's her face? You know what I'm talking about? The molester one. Hopeless.
Hopeless, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we got a common theme of shitty dads here, which I may be inferring here, but I know It Ends With Us is based off of her mom and her life story, so maybe it comes from a place of bringing exposure to those situations.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, no, I agree. There is a frustrating point when you know more than the other sides and you're like, oh, just figure it out, read this. Like,
yes, yeah.
For sure. So, okay. To this question, I'm like, discuss the role of trust and honesty in Fallon and Ben's relationship. At the beginning, I'm going to say what trust and what honesty because, like, I don't think there was any.
No, I mean, I think trust just because, you know, they made the agreement. One, she lets him into her house and she doesn't know him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they get really close to hooking up and, you know, he takes her to the airport. They have their book-worthy first kiss. And they're trusting that they're going to come back in a year. So I think they have that much, but not really anything else. It's not based on anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about the trust like that. But honesty, I feel like they just live in this fantasy world one day a year, to be honest, until it becomes real. So, any other quotes or anything you wanted to add there? We, went through 4 books and 20 minutes of personal blah blah, so.
I don't remember where this was, but she's introducing me to the only man who's ever been inside me. I was like, that's such a weird way to say that.
Should have been like,
and who's introducing
the only
you?
man who I've been intimate with.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was so weird. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. Ian is his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And Miles and Tate come home with them for the funeral with Ian from Ugly Love.
Yes. I forgot about that.
Yeah, yes. I was like, wait, what? I forgot about this.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that too, because I read Ugly Love next after this one, my initial read through, and it was like so fresh, it was clicking, but I had forgotten about that in the depth of all of the Colleen Hoover rereads.
Yeah. And we talked last week about how like Sounds of Cedar is mentioned in another book, and it's Regretting You that it's mentioned in. So we'll maybe skim over that.
Yeah, that
in
book
our like wrap up
made me very angry.
It was so immature and just obnoxious.
It was so immature. Also, just like the lack of communication in that book is more prevalent in that book more than any of her other books, and I just wanted to throw. You know that video of Bradley Cooper when he finishes the book from that one movie that he's in where his wife cheats on him? What's that? Oh, Silver Linings Playbook.
Mm-hmm. And
he throws it out the window and goes, "What the fuck?
What the fuck?"
That's how I felt the entire time I was reading that book.
But yeah, that was, and we can get more into that when we do like our wrap up episode. But yeah, could not stand it. Like half the way through the book, I was like, "What the actual fuck?"
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah. The only other note I really have, his brother comes in and he's like, "What the fuck?" And I was real confused about how that all like worked out. And then obviously he explains it, but like he recognizes her and he knows that he should not be having any relationship with her because he did this to her.
Well, and the brother like fighting with him. Yeah. I think that's around, is that the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the same November 9. But
Yeah.
and she's like so confused, like, why do you have such a bad relationship with your brother or whatever? And it's not. It's her. I mean, they do, I feel like, have a tense relationship maybe, but
Yeah.
it's mainly her that caused that that rift. So
Yeah. And then like the way that she decides to like push him away and makes him stay for his family, and then gets mad when she comes back the next November 9th and he's got the baby and they're in a relationship, and it's another one of those convenience. Like we didn't ever intend for it to happen, but we were just there and it just happened.
And they say when people
brother's
die,
wife.
yeah, no, when people die, apparently it is very normal for them to end up with either a brother or a best friend or a sister. Like, it's just because to me, I'm sure it's subconscious, but it's like you're finding that person in that new person, the person you lost. It kind of, I haven't lost anyone close to me, thank God, so I don't know, but I have seen it in real life time and time again. And so I guess it's, who's there for you and you're there for them and they bond over that. But is it long term? I don't know. I don't know if they actually stick.
I don't think it usually is.
But I mean, I say that's very realistic, honestly. Like I said, real life. I've seen it multiple times.
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously it doesn't in this case, but causes some probs.
Yeah. And then she moves back in the next year and doesn't tell him, and she still shows up though.
Yeah. That's
No, it was the third year or whatever after his brother passed and he came back and he had the baby. She is in her car and he's like, "How were you in your car? How did you drive here?" She's like, "Well, I moved back, but I didn't want you to know that it was kind of for you, but kind of for me."
Yeah, that's where she's from. I gave this one a higher star. Like I said, there was some repetitive, but as far as an original storyline with a twist, I felt like this was a good book. You agree?
Yeah, I liked it. It's one of the few that I still liked after rereading it.
What are your ones that you still liked? Mine's Ugly Love.
Reminders of Him.
Reminders of Him. Yes. Reminders of
Since
Him.
I've read
Ugly
it 4
Love.
times now.
Yeah, that one is just so good. And then this one, and then probably It Ends With Us, and It Starts With Us. Those are just great. Verity. I've read Verity a few times. I still like it.
Yeah, I think I've read it 3 times too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are pros and cons to rereading, but for the majority of these, started seeing too many correlations, too much repetitive scenarios, and overall just gives me kind of an ick.
Romanticizing certain things.
Yeah. And
immaturity. Should be more immature. Very young people handling mature situations. A lot of teenage pregnancy. A lot of bad cops. Yeah.
which I get, happens all the time, but at the same time, it's like we read to escape some of those things.
Yeah. I may have said this, but I think I started to say, but I didn't finish my full thought last week. But someone on YouTube that I listened to made a really good point about this. She was like, I need to call her out, but I don't remember exactly her name. But she pretty much said, we read books to escape reality, but when we read fantasy or romantasy or dark romance, we know that's not real. Our brain separates that as a fantasy or an unrealistic story. When we read Colleen Hoover, we expect, apart from Layla, we expect a realistic story. It could actually be I don't know, the Lucy Score Knock 'Em Out series is one of my favorites. Is it super realistic that you're going to find a billionaire, a lottery winner, a chief of and you're all best friends and you're all going to end up together? It's not realistic, but it could happen.
Yeah.
And all the things that are in there, it could happen. It's more realistic to me than all of these crazy scenarios that are all very similar. So I think that was her point in this, is you read Colleen Hoover to escape, but to escape in an alternate reality and not a fantasy realm. And I thought that was a really good way to think about it, because that's why people are disappointed, because it's realistic but not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's too close to being realistic without actually holding any reality.
Yes. Exactly. So that's all I have.
Yeah, that's all I've got too. So next week is It Ends With Us. It Starts With Us. And we'll probably talk a little bit about book club because we'll both be reading the Thursday Murder Club this week. Go follow us on our socials, Open Booked on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, and enter our giveaway, open-booked.com, or find it on one of our socials for all of the details to enter. Yeah, we'll talk about It Ends With Us next week, and then go watch the movie after we talk about it, and we're so excited.
Yes, very excited. By the time this episode airs, we'll be like 5 days away
Yes.
from watching the movie. So
Yes. I'm so excited.
So excited! It's almost time. We've been waiting forever.
Yes. And I was very nervous of how they would do the book justice, but everyone that I've seen that has seen it, like they were at Book Bonanza or Premiere or whatever, has said it's so, so good. And it does like very much detailed justice to the book. I'm like,
Yes. The few things they changed were they changed the name of the restaurant. I guess
Yeah.
it's not Bibs.
yeah, it's called Routes or Roots or something. Root.
Yeah, they said it was very much just because Bib didn't really fit. And I mean, that's not a big thing that I would throw a fit about.
No.
But I'm just interested to see Blake Lively's wardrobe because we've seen the pictures. You and I have shared them. We don't love it, but she's a fashionista in real life. Like,
Yeah.
she's a queen. So I'm gonna just go in with an open mind. Very interested to see the heels and coveralls and see how that works for her character because I did not get that vibe reading the book.
Yeah, no.
Maybe that's what Colleen Hoover had in mind. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see.
Yes, we will see. All right, we will talk to you guys next week.